All right, good evening. Welcome to the November 21 edition of the Amelia Village Council meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. Ask the fiscal officer for a roll call, please.
Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Mr. Pollock.
Here.
Ms. Gerber.
Here.
Mr. Hart.
Here.
Mr. Rosser.
Here.
Mr. Thacker. Here.
Thank you. Let's all stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, once again, I'd like to welcome everyone here to the November 21 Amelia Village Council meeting. I'd like to welcome those who are here in the audience tonight, as well as those who may be reviewing the meeting by way of the village website at www.ameliavillage.com or on Clement County Communications Channel number 22. Thank you for stopping by to learn about what's going on in your community, and we welcome your input. Moving down through the agenda this evening. First item on the agenda is the approval of previous meeting minutes. I have before me the minutes for the regular session on November 7th. Entertain a motion from council at this time.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
Any discussion or questions? Let the record show that council has received their packets in advance of this meeting and has had an opportunity to review the content. Ask the fiscal officer for a roll call, please.
Mr. Thacker.
Yay.
Mr. Rosser.
Yay.
Mr. Hart.
Yay.
Ms. Gerber.
Yay.
Mr. Pollock.
Yay.
Mr. Campbell.
Yay.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you very much. All right, next item on the agenda this evening is we have a guest of council. Becky McClatchy returns this evening from the watershed. She's the watershed coordinator for Clement Soil and Water Conservation District. And as you all know, Becky was here recently and made a presentation. I think she'd like to address council again this evening for further input.
Well, thank you, Mayor and
Yes, ma'am.
Council. I did want to follow up with you on the Balanced Growth project that I came to present on a few months back. And just as a reminder, we're working with the local governments to create a land use plan based on the watershed boundaries and trying to prioritize areas for development and conservation. The program is voluntary, and this plan that we're putting together is a planning tool for each jurisdiction, and we'll put some recommendations in there for you in making land use decisions in the future based on watershed protection. I did bring a couple of extra copies of the maps, just in case anyone needed a refresher. This map here shows you the location of priority development areas, highlighted in purple, and the priority conservation areas highlighted in green. And when I came back out a few months ago, we presented a draft outline which includes the contents of the plan that's still being finalized, in addition to the draft map that we're showing right here tonight. And my purpose for coming out here tonight is to ask if you have any questions about the draft outline or any recommendations for the plan or any comments on the maps based on the outline of the jurisdiction for your jurisdiction. So are there any questions on the draft maps or the draft outline at this point in time? Okay. Well, and we've been going out to each jurisdiction and getting feedback. And we're at the point right now where we'll have the plan finalized by the end of the year. And we'll be coming back out to present that in its final form and also to be asking for resolutions of support from each jurisdiction. And I have some copies here. This is a sample resolution, and each jurisdiction is free to modify this for any reason necessary. A couple copies over here. And basically your resolution will say that you agree with the areas that have been identified and prioritized for development and conservation in your area. You agree with the recommendations that are provided in this planning tool. And as a jurisdiction, you're willing to try this program out and see if it fits your community. So if you would take a look at that resolution and let us know, again, if you have any comments or changes to that. And if the agenda permits, I'll be out maybe sometime in December and present the final plan. But in the meantime, any other questions or comments?
Your map includes the whole watershed of East Fork, right?
It includes just the Middle East Fork sub-watershed. So
What's that mean?
it means it's just, this is the entire East Fork watershed. That's
Right.
over 500 square miles. The planning area for this project is just this little sub-watershed highlighted in purple.
Oh, really?
But this is the entire Middle East Fork sub-watershed. There are a few reasons that we chose this part of the watershed to do this project in. And first of all, there were some stipulations in the grant outline that we had to choose a planning area that included at least 5 jurisdictions, but no more than 20. And also because this watershed included Herschel Lake, we felt like this was a priority area to be doing this type of planning, so for protection for source waters.
What determines where you cut that off?
The watershed boundaries, the
And-
highest points in elevation.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
At that particular spot, that's the high part.
Right, that's the highest point of elevation. Everything from those points drains into that part of the Middle East Fork watershed and into Herschel Lake.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm new. What other jurisdictions are included in the study?
It includes Batavia Township, Jackson Township, Stone Lake Township, Williamsburg, Monroe, Pierce, Union, and the villages of Amelia and Batavia. The plan, again, the planning tool that we're putting together would only include recommendations for the part of your jurisdiction in that watershed, which includes a good chunk of Amelia. Batavia Township obviously occupies the largest area in this watershed. But as another incentive to you, the whole reason that the state has put together an incentive package is to encourage you to implement these recommendations. As a jurisdiction, you're free to apply the criteria that we've chosen in the mapping process to your entire jurisdiction, even outside of this planning area, if you choose to do so. And those other areas that fall outside of the Middle East Fork sub-watershed would also be eligible for state incentives down the road. Okay, well, thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, please contact me.
Just give us a call back and yourself on the agenda for the December meeting or whenever it's
Great,
ready.
and we'll just keep your map as it is then, if there are no other changes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you much.
Next item on the agenda this evening is the mayor's report. A few things that I neglected to add to my report that I've thought of since I've been sitting here, and I'll start with those things so that I don't forget them again. I'd like to first congratulate incoming Mayor Todd Hart on a successful election, as well as council candidates Renee Gerber, Susan Elliott, and Chris Dickerson, who all took the time to make themselves available to be considered and elected to council. Win or lose, community needs your voice and needs your involvement. So we thank you for taking the time to be involved and to express interest in working on behalf of your community. The other side of that is, it just occurred to me, is that, or reoccurred to me rather, that with Mr. Hart's election as mayor, there'll be a vacated council seat available beginning January 1. And so I guess I would start with the solicitor and ask Ms. Carney, is it appropriate or is it possible for a subcommittee of sitting council members to be involved in selection of council to fill that vacant council seat?
I would have to look into that, and
Okay.
we can probably do that this evening.
Okay.
We
Well,
can let everybody know.
What we've done in the past, we submit a press release, make it available on the website that we're accepting letters of interest for a vacated council seat.
And then review them.
We begin the interview process. In this case, I would recommend that the subcommittee be made up of members of council who will carry over into the next term.
Okay.
That being said, if you could just look into the legality of the best way to proceed.
I will do that.
That's what we've done in the past. Just want to make sure that
That's what you do.
we're all on the same page. Any council members have anything to add to that thought? All right. To move on with my mayor's report for this evening, November 21, under the heading of meetings, I've been involved in correspondence with many people on behalf of Amelia Village since the last meeting, including, but not limited to, the following: Interim Police Chief Wallace, representatives from Union Township Fire Department, Fiscal Officer Kevin Pyle, Village Solicitor Julia Carney, Pat Madel from CDS Engineering, village staff and police personnel, as well as village residents. Under the heading of David Friend, for the record, those of you who don't know, is the person who was appointed police chief to begin in December. It goes on in my report to say that before the council meeting on Monday, December 5th, there will be an open house here in council chambers to welcome David Friend as the new police chief. Invitations have been sent to all village employees, council members, vendors, and committee members. There has also been a press release issued that Mr. Friend will be sworn in on that date. I hope as many residents and employees as is possible will be able to stop by to meet the new chief. It doesn't say it in my report, but that open house time is from 5 to 7 p.m. prior to the meeting. So just invite people to stop by and say hello and meet your police chief beginning. He will be sworn in on the 5th during the council meeting. This just allows residents and vendors, et cetera, an opportunity to say hello and meet him. The next item I have on my report is an insert of a memo that I received from Chief Wallace. And so I'm gonna read the bulk of it, but I'm gonna leave out some of the numbers. It's available in the report for anybody that wants to see it. I'll leave out those numbers just in the interest of time. And basically, on November 16, 2011, I received the following memo from Chief Wallace. The memo reads, Leroy, I would like to add one full-time police officer to the staff of the Amelia Police Department. Currently, we are providing 416 hours of police service to the village per pay period. If approval is granted for one additional full-time officer, we will be able to provide 496 hours of police service to the village. This change would provide 2 officers on duty during high call for service times, basically 1600 to midnight. Is that correct?
Yes.
Except Sunday and Monday. And these additional police officers would eliminate the end of shift overtime 5 of 7 days per week. The chief would continue to to the second police officer to be the second police officer during the week. Completing the core of the schedules would become easier because we would be competing with the part-time police officers, full-time employment, and their obligations. The addition of one full-time officer would allow a police department to use the part-time officers as backfilling force for vacation, sick time, and training. Plus, the second police officer would provide additional police hours during the high call for service times. We do have part-time officers who have expressed solid interest in a full-time position with the Amelia Police Department. If this proposal is accepted, I suggest that special consideration be given to those applicants. I began writing this request for an additional full-time officer before one of our police officers was discovered a tumor in his knee. While I hope that tumor is not a serious issue for him, I can see where surgery on the knee and rehabilitation of the knee will cause him to be off work for a while. Adding one additional full-time police officer will help us maintain the level of services that we are currently providing. And with this officer being released for duty, the schedule would be complete and we could return to the original proposal. It goes on to say that currently the basic payroll per pay period is $7,076.68, not including overtime. The additional police officer would increase this amount by $1,323.01 per pay period to a new amount of $8,399.69, and that does not include overtime. Below it lists the reference point of the last 7 pay periods, and that's available for anyone's review. The chief's email goes on to say, I've reviewed the appropriations that Kevin provided, which shows that the funds left for the last 2 months of the year. It is my opinion that the funds are available for this additional police officer, and the service to the village would be enhanced. Thanks, Chief Wallace. I responded twice on that same day on that email. I'll just read my responses. In the first response, I replied, Chief, I will pass your request to council for consideration. If current budget and projected 2012 budgets allow, I would be in support of the additional officer being added. I would, however, suggest that appointing a new police officer be put off until Mr. Friend begins on December 12th. And that's just my opinion. Ultimately, I act at council's direction. In a second email, I responded, Chief, I am 100% behind the idea of current officers being granted consideration for their past service and performance. But I remain steadfast in the idea of there being more of a formal hiring process that allows the village to interview outside candidates as well. Either way, it's my opinion that the cream will rise to the top. That all being said, I will reiterate that I do act at council's direction. So at this time, for purposes of discussion, I'll just reiterate that with the incoming police chief being sworn in at the next meeting, I think it's perfectly reasonable to have the new chief involved in a hiring process if, in fact, council authorizes that to move forward. That all being said, the chief has referenced in his memo to me that we have an officer whose return to duty is a bit unsure now due to some even more complicated circumstances with regard to his health condition. So, for what it's worth, Chief, is there anything you want to add before I open the floor to council?
Other than we just don't know what the diagnosis and prognosis will be. Non-trained medical individual, I'm looking at, some sort of knee surgery with the accompanying rehabilitation process. And if he's lamed up with a brace and all that, there's no way we can put him out in the field for work purposes. May find other jobs for him to do, which need done, but
Yes.
Road work is something we can't do.
Right. I would just, before I open the floor to council, just ask council's, I believe it's, just from a privacy standpoint, you'll notice that I did not read the person's name, although it's a part of the public record. Just for privacy purposes, I refrain from using that person's name, just out of respect for their privacy. So I would open the floor to council for discussion on this issue. The chief is here to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, I'm a firm believer to have somebody in-house that has the inclination and the ability and the energy to improve himself as opposed to staying as he is or was, he, she, or whatever. Then if we have somebody qualified within the company, within the village, then I suggest that we would follow Chief Wallace's suggestion, if we're going to hire one, that we would hire in-house.
I guess my only comment is we got David coming aboard here in a couple weeks to sit down with him also and talk it over and see how he feels about the department and which direction he wants to go with it.
Is our officer currently not working, or?
Not working. We're not sure what the end of the rainbow is.
No disrespect to Chief Wallace, but I think it would be the best this week for Chief Friend to come on board and give us a so-called a second opinion and see exactly where we need to go.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't mean jump in and hire somebody tomorrow.
Yeah.
With
And it's no disrespect.
No, there's a new man coming in control. He may.
Yeah, it just happens that the timing is a little bit funny because the timing of it all in that this email was sent to me prior to the thought of the health concern of our officer, to the extent that it is now developed. And so it's sort of a double-edged sword. Yet again, you will have reduced police coverage during that time. So I can see the urgency, but then again, I don't think it's wise to make a hasty decision.
Right.
I think it's only courteous for the incoming police chief to be involved
Absolutely.
in the process, and I'm sure he'll be working with Chief Wallace on that. So,
Do we have
Go ahead, Bob.
any idea when you're going to get a prognosis of what's?
we'll know more tomorrow.
I mean, we are in current close time to find out what it's all about. Or you are, somebody.
Yeah, I mean, we'll know more tomorrow.
Okay.
There was a procedure today that was the intent was to provide more information. We'll know more hopefully tomorrow. That'll set us on more short track.
Yes.
I'm sure there's still going to be some questions.
Oh, sure.
Because recovery, depending on what the treatment course is, there's almost bound to be some physical therapy. Who knows what kind of procedure, etc. So probably not going to be back to work in a week. But that's just a guess off the top of my head. So it's something to bear in mind that we'll have our department will be a little leaner during this time. So. As is right now, I believe Chief Wallace is working second shift on Thanksgiving.
Yes, sir.
So if anybody has some extra slices of turkey,
I would like to see if we're gonna, even if the Chief Frank comes on board, I would like to see more of a forecast down the road of where the finances are for the police department. If you can help us with that, Kevin.
okay.
Yeah. Using the current rate of pay, excluding statutory amounts, pension, Medicare, all that, it would be right around 36 for a officer. It's 84-hour pay now,
Yes.
no overtime, and I was assuming that he gets hired in at the same rate as the other officers. Pension would be 19% of that. Medicare 1.45% on top of that. And then if the person wants the health, well, they get the health insurance, be 10% of whatever the health charge is, I believe. So. That gives you a rough idea of what it will cost. And last check, I believe we're looking at a balance of over $200,000 at the end of 2012. I've had to make some adjustments that are actually going to make that a little sweeter.
When's health insurance coming to our?
The current policy expires February 1st. I've been in contact with the current agency, and I was told that they usually get a renewal notice around 60 days in advance, sometimes 90 days. As soon as she gets that information, she will start looking anywhere and everywhere. Since I made my original projections, I revised them once, indicating maybe a 15% increase in health insurance premiums. I've been talking with other clerks, and they purposely only go with one-year contracts so they can
Keep that.
get the lowball numbers, because the second or third year they almost always go up. That's what happened with when I was with Hamilton County, and that's what's happened with Ohio PERS. The first year contract was pretty sweet, and now this coming year my share of insurance is going to almost triple. So.
We just had ours at where I work at, and it's the average was 37%.
Yeah.
Increase?
Increase.
Pays to be dead.
It's a huge number.
Yeah.
All right. Move on to the next item on my mayor's report. Under the heading of new prosecutor, council will consider legislation this evening to appoint a new prosecutor for Amelia Mayor's Court. Village Solicitor Carney has made a recommendation of a Darren Miller. That legislation is on your desk this evening. As council may recall, while Ms. Carney, as a representative of her firm, is technically our solicitor, it is their preference to contract out for the prosecutor on mayor's courts evenings. So that is for council's consideration this evening in legislation. For the Planning Commission report this evening, at the November Planning Commission meeting, the Commission voted unanimously to accept the preliminary site plans from the developers of Kroger. Pat Nadel from CDS Engineering, our village engineering service, was on hand and gave his review comments, which were favorable, very favorable, on this project and its site plan. His review comments were emailed to you this evening, so you can see the things that were of concern. I would say that things that were of concern were almost exclusively on the township side of the establishment, and so our best bet was just to note our concern about it. We have very little that we can say about it, only just to note those concerns, and none of them were severe. They were more of a nature of protecting ourselves from liability if there were to be some problem in the future. There are still some pending zoning issues that require that Kroger file variances on certain zoning issues. And again, that's mostly because of the differences between Pierce Township zoning and village zoning. And as I understand it, at least one of those BZA hearings have been scheduled. Is it one or two?
We're in the process of scheduling it. It hasn't been scheduled.
Okay,
yet.
okay.
Just one.
I know that notifications have been made. And as it stands now, Kroger's is scheduled to break ground in spring of 2012. Do you have any information to add there, Julia?
I know that they're looking to open before Thanksgiving next year, so they're trying to get their zoning approvals and any other approvals that they need fairly quickly.
There are some other offshoot issues related that there'll be more discussion on with council in the coming months as things develop. Mr. Hart is involved deeply in those, and it's not really at a place right now where it's relevant to bring the council, but there's more information coming. But as for the plan itself, council approved, or planning commission unanimously approved their site plan review. Is there any action that needs to be taken by council once the planning commission has approved the preliminary site plan?
No, not by council, and the Board of Zoning Appeals will make the variances or grant the variances if they see fit. So at this point, there's nothing.
And you'll be involved in working with the BZA?
Yes, I'll be at those meetings, and I've already reviewed the application that we've received.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions on that before we move forward? Next item on the agenda is the Christmas parade. I understand that Amelia Parade LLC has submitted its request for a parade permit. It is my understanding that Chief Wallace has approved the parade route as being safe and has authorized the issuing of the permit from a safety standpoint. I will be asking the solicitor to review the permit and make a recommendation before I make my final approval. I don't anticipate any problems. It's just a stopgap measure to make sure that all of our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed. The parade, again, is scheduled for Sunday, December 11th at 2 p.m. Final item on my report this evening. Actually, after I read the final item, I'll have another thing that I forgot to put in my report. Under the heading of Waste Pickup, RFP, our current contract with Waste Pickup Provider will be expiring on December 31, 2012. I've asked our solicitor, Julia Carney, to prepare an RFP and be prepared to advise council on the process. For those that aren't sure of the acronym, RFP stands for Request for Proposal. In reading this sentence, it says here that our contract will be expiring on December 31, 2012. And we all know that as of this moment, that doesn't give us time to do 3 readings. I want to try to explain a little fly in the ointment. One of the things that's holding us up right now is, I recall, probably for the first 2 years after we submitted that the village contracted the current waste provider. There were citizens who made the argument that they're paying for the service, they should have the privilege to choose the provider of their choice. And waste service is not currently being provided for our waste levy. So I think that's something we really need to be sure of before we enter into a contract for waste service. And so that's another thing that's sitting on the solicitor's desk. I don't mean it to sound like he's just sitting there doing nothing, but she's reviewing that. So if anybody has any questions or comments on that?
Yeah, you have 2012. Did you mean 2011?
Yes, yes. The contract ends. I apologize. Thanks for catching that. Julie, will you remind me to amend my mayor's report on that waste deadline number there? Because that would really be relevant. Thanks for catching that. Yeah, it expires in just a few weeks. So you see what little hang up in the system is there. We can hurry up and get it. We could have gotten an RFP out, but you know, a real legal question from my standpoint is: does the village have the legal right, even though it's a savings to our residents, to contract for service on their behalf?
I don't see why each one's paying their own freight. What have we got to do with it in the first place?
That's exactly my point.
That's my opinion. Now, if we get flush and want to give them a little present, then we'll make a contract and we'll pick up their cash.
Well, then there'll be a waste levy to pay
Right.
for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my whole point.
Well, that's it.
They're talking the
We
same
have
language.
nothing to do with it at all, as far as I'm concerned.
So-
I pay my bill and you pay yours, I guess.
If you do a waste levy, it's no different. You know, they still don't get to choose their
No.
provider.
That's right, but since they're paying their own freight now, they can have anybody they want come in.
No,
We're not blocking it out.
Right, but when you bundle it all together is when you get your best price.
That's right. And
So-
if we're paying the freight, then they take what we give them.
So you're saying that if we did a levy,
Right.
that way you would be for making
And they
a
would be
contract
tickled
with
to
somebody.
death.
And if you don't do a levy, you want them to choose.
They have to, it's private.
Okay.
I mean, in my
Now I
opinion.
understand what you're saying.
Well, what,
I get confused.
That was the reason for the hesitation and moving forward with legislation. Because, you know, I'm not sure how that works. When the contract was entered into, there was a waste levy involved.
that's right.
So
But now it's not there.
it just needs to be reviewed. And so that's why it doesn't provide adequate timing for three readings with the appointment of the new solicitor and all the things that the way timing worked out. So I just wanted to explain that. Does waste collection, did you go to doctor school too? Because I can't read that.
I was just wanting to put in front of you if the waste collection is the same as cable franchise, where the cable company gets a franchise with the village and then provides the service. If it might be the same authorization or such, same contract procedures and all that.
Okay. Thank you. I can recognize some of these words. I can't make out the sentence. He specializes in numbers.
I never
Thank
asked
you.
if I could write.
Since I'm picking on you, did you have the opportunity to prepare the year-end balance, historical data?
Has been emailed out to everyone last week.
Okay, it was one of the things that you emailed.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Anybody have any questions on that information? All right, thank you. That's the last item on my mayor's report. With that, we'll move forward. There'll be no police chief's report. Chief made his report at the last meeting, and just a mistake in the agenda. I apologize. I saw Chief Jackson come into the room, and everyone has on their desk this evening the fire department report. Is Chief Jackson there? There he is. How are you, Chief?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Any questions on the report? Straight up, fairly busy month, not our busiest obviously, but busy enough. As far as Union Township, nothing really new. Obviously getting ready for the Christmas season, parades. Probably our biggest thing here for the Christmas season. We should do some shopping with the American Legion, so we can hear from them on that. Besides that, busy and status quo. Any questions for me?
I may have a question, Chief. I don't. Thank you. Hard to come up with something, but he just intimidated me. All right. Next item on the agenda is Public Works Report. Before I move to that, Kevin, is this document something that you put in the packet?
Yeah, I wanted all council members to see what the proposal was from Retail Energy versus our current electric.
That's what I
plan.
thought it was, but I didn't see anything on the agenda that matches it. So you want to talk about this a little bit? It's a spreadsheet that's on your packet.
A couple other clerks in the township said that they have switched from Duke Energy to either Duke Energy Retail and a couple other third parties. By going to Duke's unregulated subsidiary, it's estimated that the village would be saving just about $1,500 a month each year. Currently, the per kilowatt hour ranges from a low of 8.7 cents per kilowatt hour up to 69.4 cents an hour. I've yet to figure out why there's such a big variance, since it's all coming from the same plant down on the river over the same wires, but they get the charge differently. The proposal gives everything at a little over 5.5 cents a kilowatt hour. And then the very last column shows projected savings by the types are their, I can't think of the fancy name, the Public Utilities Commission gives it, it's their charge code or whatever, their franchise code, something like that. Each one of those is a different rate that they can charge or do charge, and as I said, everything goes to a flat 5.5 cents, which pretty much comes out to be the same as what we're paying currently on the UOLP rate schedule. So we're looking at about $1,500 a
There's an
month.
average savings of around $1,500 a month by moving to, which plan is it?
Duke Energy Retail.
Retail?
Yeah.
Okay. And does that have to be done at any particular time, or can it be done effective January 1 or December 1?
Duke would like a response as soon as possible.
Okay.
The question rises, can it be done through just a vote of council? Is a resolution needed? Is an ordinance needed? That's Laura's bailiwick. Or Julia's bailiwick, sorry.
I mean, $1,500 a month is $1,500 a month. I'm personally of the mindset. Well, let me rephrase this. Are you recommending that the village move forward with reviewing or contracting with Duke Energy Retail?
Yes.
Okay, so that's your recommendation.
The advantage is, very simply, instead of being Duke Energy out of Charlotte, North Carolina, it's now Duke Energy Retail out of West Virginia, wherever they're headquartered. Distribution, support, everything stays within Duke.
Do you have any experience with this sort of thing, Blake?
Yes, lots of communities we've worked with have used them, have switched to them, and get significant savings.
Okay. So you've done, reviewed their contracts in the
Right,
past?
so I would review their contract and do an ordinance authorizing the village if that's the direction you want to go.
Yeah, I guess we're just looking forward to council.
Seems like a no-brainer to me. We're gonna save that money.
Yeah, is there any time element to get into the show?
Beg your pardon?
I said, is there any time element to get into the show? I mean, do we have a window to get into, or?
As I said, they'd like to get an answer as soon as possible. Originally, he said the proposal expired on November 15th. And I told him, council doesn't meet until the 17th. He said, oh, well, that's okay.
Oh, in other words, we get a little reprieve.
Yep.
That he says.
He says.
Okay. Now, how long does it take to get it? How long does it take for us to do that?
We could do an emergency ordinance at your next meeting. I think, they'd probably take us whenever.
I'm sure.
Whatever, we can do it.
Well, if motion's in order, I'll make a motion to do that.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion and or questions?
Yeah, just the cheapest that I've seen with the energy usage I have is 5.4 cents. So this is well within about the best you can get, so.
No, yeah. Sounds good to me.
Basically, it's what I was paying 25 years ago with a co-op.
So the first and second? Wait, any other discussion? Final discussion I would have on the matter is, Kevin, if you would contact Duke once this vote is complete, let them know the council has decided to move forward, and if they would forward to you the appropriate contracts, et cetera, and then if you would forward it to Julia for her review. Roll call, please.
Mr. Campbell.
Yay.
Mr. Pollock.
Yay.
Ms. Gerber.
Yay.
Mr. Hart.
Yay.
Mr. Rosser.
Yay.
Mr. Thacker.
Yay.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. Thanks for exploring that for us, Kevin.
Next year, we can, is it next year or the year after, Julie, that the phone contract comes up? Do you remember offhand?
I don't remember.
I think it might be the end of next year the phone contract comes up.
Okay. Move forward with the Public Works report and ask Public Works Supervisor Rick Rowland to come up to the front and address council. It's a lengthy report this evening.
Yeah, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit so I don't have to read every word. Good evening. I have broke these paragraphs down to areas that, topics, so that makes it a little easier to follow or whatever. The first topic is the leaf pickup. We'll be finishing that on the 30th. We've had a lot of problem with that this year because the equipment failed back at the first of the month. So every leaf is being picked up by hand, instructed to the tractor being dumped in the truck. We've been quite behind, but we are just about ready to be caught up with it. I've asked the residents to start bagging their leaves. Some still is not in the mindset to do that. I've made arrangements to pick up some of the bigger stacks because we just can't leave them laying there, even though I have asked prior that they be bagged. So there's a few residents I've had to talk to make arrangements to pick them up as we have been. So leaf pickup will be, last date will be November 30th. The leaves still can be bagged and still be picked up, but we're not going to go out and hand pick them after that date. Time is too many time restraints, and we're just going to get them things done.
Can I stop you there for a second, Rick?
Yes.
That might be something that council wants to review. Is this be the end of the leaf picking season?
Yes.
One more time, or this is the end?
This is the end. November 30th is the last day of leaf pickup, and after that, we still pick them up, but they're happy bagged, put out with yard waste. It's not
Councilman want to review that for the incoming year. As of right now, the equipment is not functioning. So.
Right. There's, in order to get it functioning, involved with the truck, and also a new type of design for that leaf blower. So I'll have to explain the further reports the dangers of the box that we have at this time.
Thanks.
Catch basin, we replaced one catch basin at 180 West Main. It had failed, so just normal repairing of the catch basin that's been done many times. There's 2 others that's in question that should make it through the winter. I check on a weekly basis, but structurally I think they're going to be fine. There's just a little bit of dip in as you go over it, so it's not. If you look at the walls are still in place, so I think we'll be fine throughout the winter with that. Grove Park, we had problems. Once again, residents taking apart that ramp. This time I took it apart, put it back together with different bolts. Somebody had acquired that spatial tool to take that apart, and so they took it apart. So we went to a different type of bolt system and everything, and so far it's still in place. As I mentioned before, if this keeps and continues, we're going to have to look into either removing it or seeing if we can have an assessment, see if that design can be changed and altered to work with their plans and with what we need. You just can't go off not being safe.
So what's happening is somebody is basically vandalizing the ramp.
Right, they're taking the guardrails off and the boxes and things like that, and moving them around to where they want them and catch them back on.
Oh, they're reattaching.
They reattached one box at a different angle than what it was supposed to be. The rail they got rid of, we've had to go locate it and that type of things. That rail was placed for a reason, so that's why it's on there. We can review the reasoning. Maybe it was just for necessary skating. I don't know. If that's the fact, we could take the railway and still be in the safe area, still be liable.
We just need to make sure that whatever modifications are made to the ramp and to the equipment in general is compliance with the guidelines of the
state
manufacturer.
Yeah, and they say there's no, we cannot do any alterations as the law is written. Maybe now that's just an attachment that could have been designed with or without, then you may be okay.
Yeah.
If it's not designed with or without, and it has to be there, then you better have it on there.
Yeah, the manufacturer designed it a certain way and applied for the insurance in that configuration. And
So we can't have just redesigning their own things to make their suit their purposes. So also, we've been behind. We have started removing the playground. Still shut off. It will be for another month or so because of the equipment failure, and plus the tractor that we use to drag out, it also failed. We're working with old equipment, and the problem with the tractor is the salt that we used it for the last 4 years to pick up salt. It's or Crowdell electrical systems. Right now it's repaired and working fine, so we're going to, as soon as leaf pickup, we'll go back to the park and try to finish that up.
One of the issues there is the John Deere tractor that we have is more of a farming grade, agricultural grade, as opposed to, it's one of the green and yellow John Deere tractors. And typically, if you're going to use something for road work, that's usually the ones that you see that are yellow, and they're manufactured for that purpose.
And this was a little upgraded. It has all the electronic and the good things that you want, hydrostats and the fancy backup and all that. That's all electronic. Well, the salt has deteriorated that electronic system. It's been in the shop for 7 weeks. We got it back about a week ago. It's functioning fine now. We're using it to pick up leaves. So as it stands now, we're good for the winter unless something else goes out of the electrical system. So there's no guarantee because they didn't take out every piece of it and replace it, just what was bad.
For the record, Rick is very, very adamant about once our vehicles are used in a snow circumstance or working with the salt, I believe we spray.
We pressure wash them and
Pressure
clean
wash
them
them.
after every event, just to try
to break, to eliminate a little bit of the
alleviate the problems. You're still going to get some corrosion. The problem we have in the past, that corrosion has already been there, so we're working with something that's already in place, and there's no reviving that. You can do what you can with it. As you see with the truck, that we have any issues with. The Chevy dump truck, lengthy report on that. With all respect, it's just a little more style than I usually speak, but we have to have some type of action made. We're going to be getting snow pickup very soon, and we have neither vehicle capable of picking up snow or shoveling snow at this point. And there's just nowhere to go with it, unless we have some vehicle roadworthy. The Chevy has been placed completely off the road. because it's not roadworthy. I'll need several $1,000s to get it to where it might be roadworthy. But again, you're fixing something that somewhere else may go bad on it, and we can address immediate problems. I have no problem with repairing it as long as it's safe for our employees and the residents that's in the village. As it stands now, we take it on the road, somebody's going to be injured. I also put in some paperwork addressing the liabilities that we stand, or even the council stands, if the road is put back on the road in roadworthy. That's noted in a form that you can read.
We got,
That's pretty,
I'm sorry.
I read that, that's pretty stiff.
It's pretty stiff, yeah.
I mean, that could almost bankrupt you if you had.
The village and the
Yeah.
person of the people that's
I
in
mean,
charge.
that's
Those are
high-powered
stiff
stuff.
fines.
Jeez.
And, but this is the state law as it stands right now.
Yeah.
If we put that back on.
We did contact Ohio State Patrol for the vehicle inspection. They came out and gave an assessment on the vehicle, and it's basically their determination that the vehicle not be on the road.
So we parked it, and that's where it sits until we can, even to take it to a shop to get repaired, we're going to have it towed. It's not safe for, I had contacted the person we use to repair trucks. He hasn't got back with me with a quote. I have a long list of things that has to be done before it can be roadworthy. It's on a separate sheet. I don't know if I give that sheet to you or not.
It's in the packet here.
Is it?
Bottom line is, it looks like between $5,000 and $7,000 to repair a vehicle that was appraised 5 years ago, or a few years back in 2009, at $5,000.
And we have spent $7,200 as it stands right now since then, and we're looking at another $5,000 vehicle. I realize it's cheaper than buying a new one. You might be able to look and find a used one that's in a good shape that we've got some. I don't know.
Have you ever looked into maybe renting a truck?
I haven't looked into leasing yet. I know the
I mean,
excavator
leasing.
when we leased it was quite expensive.
You mean renting a truck per occasion?
No, leasing a truck as opposed to buying a truck.
No, I haven't. I know when we did the excavator, leasing was pretty expensive, so we went ahead and finished purchasing it out.
That'd probably be a finance, if you can, you might know the benefits or non-benefits.
From a strict tax standpoint, it doesn't make any difference. The bottom line to the village is the same if it's a lease or a purchase contract. As far as buying, right now, excuse me, with the repairs that Rick has mentioned needed for the International and the John Deere, his fund would be pinched pretty tight just to come up with a decent down payment on a new truck of any substantial size. So the best course of action right now would be to look at late model used, perhaps dedicated just to snow plowing for the time being or something. I don't know. Rick would know best what would he need.
Well, the truck in question is one that we use, as in the report, 60 to 70% of the time on every function of the village. The yard waste to any pickups or any gravel, any repairs, that's the truck we use. Because International is just absolutely too big. It's not, it does not function well in those purposes.
Do
What we do.
Do we ever get a break like the schools get a break when they buy a truck? Do we get a break like that?
I think there's a consortium that you can go to.
I mean, you don't have a particularly have a choice of color.
Yeah, you
but-
could.
Oh, yeah, we don't have that.
But the schools get a pretty good, because I used to be there, and they get a pretty good break, but I don't know whether we get the same.
Yeah, you could buy,
I mean, they got
the village
acres
could
of
buy it
trucks.
through the state bid. In the same way, it's a state bid, same way as the, Waterworks or MSD or any of the.
Yeah, I just wondered if we could get the same thing, yeah.
And
Yeah,
schools get a
that's-
subsidy from the state for their buses too.
And back to your leasing, the only problem with that is the damage, wear and tear that you get nailed for when you turn it back.
Well, I'm
in.
sure of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
salt would be.
That's a good thought.
But we're looking at a real short timeline here.
We have, if you look at the report, and that's why I've mentioned this several times throughout the year, that we're running into a problem here, and it's coming soon, what came sooner than I thought.
Right.
Last year, our measurable snow, the first plowing snow, was December the 4th. We are in no way able to plow or shovel or salt snow at this point in time. That's why I also mentioned the International. I'd like council to give me some type of approval to get that straight in the shop. We can at least use that to shovel snow and do some streets. That's better than none. As it stands, International needs a clutch and some other small areas that's not that expensive, but the clutch would be your biggest expense. And it does not have the power to pull that trailer without slipping. If you put 5 tons of salt on, you're not going to move the truck.
Let me ask you, how much usage do you use the trucks, say, in the cemetery?
None.
You mean you don't plow the cemetery road?
We don't plow the cemetery. It's gravel. If you plow the gravel.
Can we?
Once we won't.
Well, you might use maybe the red truck.
The red truck,
Maybe.
we could, that's not a possibility of outfitting it. I'm not sure if the suspension before the plow and salt is a
That's a 150 or 250?
That's a 150.
Yeah,
And it's not a very big engine. I don't think you'd be able to do it.
Have you checked into any yet?
I went over and talked to Holman's about new ones. Chevrolet and GM don't make them no more for that size, although I see one dump truck over there. So I have to, and I got a price on Ford on a new one, and I got an estimate on that. And Ford's the only one who supplies
What
it.
kind of,
The estimate's close to $50,000, which is about normal for anyone, and that's what we knew last year. So it was going to
now, do you need that size, or can you get
we
one
need
size
at least
different?
3,500
Right.
or
What is that
4,500
one now?
beds. That's the size we got. If you get any smaller, you're not going to, especially the amount of
So
snow that we're
3,500.
pushing and the amount of streets, and we may be getting more streets as areas get dedicated.
Have you looked at, I'm sorry, used yet?
I've been looking through different books on used ones, and you can get them in different areas. I've noticed the average cost between 22 and 25,000.
In just Lansing, I saw 12 to 15. I know Mount Orb dealer has one right
Oh, really?
now, 3,500. I think it was.
Is it outfitted already?
And it's a
for snow
landscape
removal?
version dump,
Okay.
so it hasn't been used in salt. I don't know if it has.
Yeah, so
I mean, you're going to have expenses.
We're going to have expenses like that also, yes.
But throwing one thing out there, since the big one doesn't do us much good, would it make sense to trade it and the other one and get 2
I
smaller
think
ones?
so. I think so. We're going to take a bath on it.
Oh, no.
Well, at least check and see if it has any worth.
But,
I mean,
but
you
we're
know.
not, it's not efficient for our need, and I think it leaves us handcuffed.
But in a major storm, one vehicle's not going to do it.
No. It takes, in a big storm like last year, we had both trucks out 20 hours a day.
That's what I said, trade
You're
both
just
and
not
get
going to
2.
deal with. One truck, you'll be a week getting done. And
I agree.
residents are not used to that. We usually try and get that
That's
snow
exactly
within
what
a
we can
third
always
day.
call
Well, I'm going to check prices.
And that's if it's still snowing. We get on, if it's snow quits, we get done within hours.
Right.
With one truck, you're not going to do that.
You know, I thought we had talked about some point in time about contracting out, maybe the snow
I-
removal. Have we
That's
talked
a
about that
possibility,
again?
but I did a sheet, if you see the sheet, of what the actual cost was last year. If you can beat that cost, you can try, it's certainly a possibility.
I think it's something we need to look at, a possible contract, not that we have to use them, but
you have
just
a
in
backup.
case of like 2 weeks from now, we have a major snowstorm, we're still not gonna have this truck ready.
Well, wait a minute.
So,
That's a good idea in theory. Here's where the hole is in it. You guys have checked into this in the past. In the past, I checked in with some of the area places who do snow plowing. They were all very happy about the idea of doing some work for us. Unfortunately, since we would be using them on a only if we need you basis, there are clients who have signed a contract like Kroger parking lot, apartment complex, all those people, I mean, they're happy to take our business once they have fulfilled their commitment to their clients. And that makes sense for them. But what that does is it leave us not getting our streets cleared in a timely way. Unless the village were to contract, to enter into a contract that had that third-party vendor do that. And to be honest with you, for 12 snow events last year, an average of $1,642.05 an event, or for a total of $19,000.
That includes all labor and overtime expenses.
I mean, I don't know.
Right, I'm just thinking right now,
Yeah,
you
yeah, I
know,
understand.
2 weeks from now, no matter what, we're still not gonna have a truck bought.
The best we can have, we could have the International, if I can get it in, get the clutch on. We have the plow and salt, so that one would be ready within 2 weeks. But the second truck, no.
Mayor, did you also contact the township on possibilities of?
No, not yet.
Yeah,
I
that
just
might be-
wonder,
that
you
might
know,
be a
especially
better
while we're in
route
this
to
pinch,
That's
to
what I
have
was
something
thinking.
in place that with the township, that they would
That'd work.
contract and cover us or something.
Because if we have to buy a new truck, we're gonna have to add another 20 to this 20 number, this 19 here at least, just to cover this year. It may be cheap, maybe a lot cheaper going with the county when you figure that in.
Going with the county?
Or the, you know what I mean?
Township.
Contracting out.
I would, and I agree with that to some degree, but some of the things you have to consider is they plow using the same criteria that we do, which is based on priority.
Yeah, school bus routes.
Well, bus routes and hills and curves, grades, et cetera. And I don't know where the village would fall into that. I mean, it's a plan, but how is the village going to fall from the priority standpoint as far as getting cleaned?
The last one.
You know, we have one other consideration. As of the state requirements, we have to put in a purchase for salt back in May. So we're obligated for 200 tons. That $14,000 will come out of this budget and will be part of next year plowing. Whether we do it or whoever does it, we already got $14,000 involved in that. And we have to buy it. That's an obligation. There's no backing out.
Yeah,
Once
we
you
have to
sign into that
investment.
contract, you're into that contract.
So
And
I
we
guess somebody needs
purchased
to be
200,000.
finding a truck.
It may be that, but as, you know, we purchased 200 ton this year, because last year we used 255. I have about 60 ton on hand, so I wanted to cut it as close as possible. However, if we do run short, I always can purchase from the county at purchase, so it's best to keep it as tight as you can, and then if you do need to buy them. But as it stands, we are obligated to buy that 200 ton.
One of the things that we've done in the past too is the first few snowfalls, buy the salt from the county if we can.
Yeah, so we've got to do
Before they start running low. Because later on, if we have a really big year with snow, they will cut people off. They won't,
Oh, yeah.
you know, because they've got to do their roads, and so there are occasions where let's utilize the purchase of their salt to make sure that we'll have enough of our own on the back end.
Have you got a salt supply report? Is it gonna be tight like in the past?
Not that I know
or
of
is it
at
gonna
this
be back
point in
up?
time, but you don't know that until winter starts and how much snow, or if there's some type of problem with some
The
salt.
price is
in there.
already.
Right now, we're locked in at what that was
Yeah.
at that point in time, so any other increases would not affect our.
And we did have the one year where there was a salt supply issue because we got hit with a huge snow in like March.
And the
Yeah.
salt supply then doubled the price.
And
It went from $49 a ton to $100 a ton.
Yeah.
And
So
so we're
that was-
trying to keep our reserves.
That was that was the one time since I've been here.
It's about 60.
Okay.
And that, you know, of course, I've been here 7 years, so from 49 to 60 is just a normal increase.
Yeah. Now, don't we get some liability if we sub it out too?
How the contract is written.
Yeah.
Now, that's another concern that I had, and I didn't have the answer to, but, you know, the average third-party vendor to contract out for snow plowing, and most of those guys, let's face it, are landscapers who are trying to keep their trucks and their crews working through the winter months. Are they going to have the kind of insurance coverage required for residential street cleaning and in a 5 square mile community? I just don't know the answer to that.
I think it'd be better, you know, to stay away from that and concentrate on maybe the townships if they were willing to contract, because, you know.
They got the insurance.
Well, not only that, is they have their road priorities, and they don't have to deal with a lot of different little parking lots and things like that. They still can cover our roads in a pinch, but,
Yeah.
you know, we're not
So
saying
this
we
isn't
want to
a
go
long-term-
to that,
No,
it's just
it's fine.
as
It's
an
a short
emergency
term.
Something
backup.
happens next.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're in a problem right now. It's not happening next
Maybe it
week.
may not snow.
We're in
Even if they gotta come use
How
our
much do they
salt.
want to fix the international?
I haven't got the whole thing. It's run around 25, somewhere in there. I'd have to get back with the Hollands.
25 what?
100, not $25. Otherwise, no, it's somewhere right in that area. But I had asked, Brian, who does our repairs, he's just not capable of fixing that truck. And he thought he had another person, but he hasn't contacted me back yet as of today. So I'll call him again tomorrow. I talked to him Thursday.
If you have a problem, I know who could fix it.
You know someone?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, well, that'd be fine.
Yeah.
And I take any suggestions right now, we just need that on the road. There's also a tar issue, but we can get started with that.
Okay.
The tars do not make traction in the snow very well at all in that international. And that's on my list of things that has to be done in international. We used it last year and it got hung up about 3 times every snow. A couple times I pulled out with the other truck, and that was on the flat road.
Can you use chains?
How about putting chains on it?
Chains could be.
I mean, they've been changed a long time ago. I used to use them.
Okay.
And semis use them today.
Yeah. We could price the, compared to getting new cars, buying chains.
Chains would be a lot cheaper.
Can do that.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and get that one going.
That's what
We
I-
need one truck on the road, and then keep our fingers crossed and work real hard on seeing how we want to do buy, purchase, or whatever for another truck.
Because I can make arrangements tomorrow to get that truck in the shop.
Is it drivable now?
The International?
Yeah.
Yes. We're using, not with a big load, you're not going to go anywhere.
No.
Pulling a trailer, you're not going to go anywhere. We're using it for leaf pickup only, so I'd like to use it up to Wednesday to get those leaves up. Otherwise, we're not going to get the leaves up. And it when you back it into a grade with a leaf, just a load of leaves, it slips. So you're not going to get a whole lot more time. And the thing of that is, we're keeping it in the village. I'm not going to take it outside the village, otherwise it may be being towed. That's why I haven't got your trailer yet. And then, last Thursday we looked.
Oh, you couldn't get up my little bit.
Couldn't get up his driveway with the trailer on it. It took 3 chances. I was trying to get that little grade in his driveway to get that trailer back in there.
So if you can get it to Sharonville.
No, I'll say
We can get in Sharonville. Yeah, up there at Coyers?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can get-
I'll give you their number.
I think I have it on
Give you-
file from the
okay,
last repairs.
So we have a first and a second. Any other discussion before I move forward? Move to a roll call.
Mr. Campbell?
Yay.
Mr. Pollock?
Yay.
Ms. Gerber?
Yay.
Mr. Hart?
Yeah.
Mr. Rosser?
Yeah.
Mr. Thackeray? Passes 6-0.
Among some of the other things that Rick and I have talked about, and Derek touched on them here, while we can outfit this, the International, and get it up and roadworthy, its overall use and efficiency for the job in general, it's utilized less than 30% of the time.
Too big.
It's too much for our need. The criteria that was used when it was purchased, I'm not sure who, what, when, where, why, but it's not adequate. It doesn't work for our needs. So, and as I stated earlier, I know that we would take somewhat of a bath at this time, or one would think you would take a bath at this time in trading it, but then again, it is November, going into December, and argument could be made that it's a buyer's market and real estate or houses or trucks or anything at this point. Might fare a little better than we expected with the trade-in because they may just be very hungry to move product. I don't know. I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm saying that argument can be made.
It's an avenue to explore.
It's worth looking at. A little further, Rick, if you had to evaluate the efficiency of the red Ford truck, I know you guys use it. You drive it around, use it for running around town.
It's used primarily, now we use it to haul the mower to the cemetery. Then we use it for small runs, like I use it when I'm doing blacktop and that kind of stuff. So it's used for that in that areas.
You feel like you're getting your money?
I think for what you're going to get out of it, because I looked on the blue book, it's worth $1,700. For what you're going to get out, we just run it until it falls apart and keep it. I keep that one pretty well maintained. We just got all back up to par again, which you'll see on that one report where I gave you numbers. That's what it costs to get it back in line, and that should be good for a while. So I've had all the.
With council's approval, I'd like to ask Rick to explore the possibility of, we'll go ahead and get the truck outfitted, so we have at least one truck on the road, and explore the possibilities of trading the truck and see what the trade-in value is, et cetera, and be prepared. Normally you report at the second meeting of the month. Could you be prepared for the first meeting of the month?
Yeah. I can
Just on that
start
topic.
on that tomorrow. and get
Just
it.
on that topic. Is there, anybody have anything else they want to add to that?
Well, other than what Derek suggested in the first place, we take both of them in
Oh,
and try to
absolutely.
get
Yeah, that's
two
what
of
I'm
them back.
saying. That's
Yeah.
what he's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh.
So if we get the other one fixed,
Second one.
Yeah.
okay, well, I'll try. Yeah.
All right. So we'll explore the idea of trading the International as well as the Chevy. And in the meantime, we'll get it fixed as per the motion that's made. The
We'll get the international, that's what I'm saying,
fixed.
yeah.
Just the International, so that we have at least one truck running. And if you can make this sort of a priority for your workload.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be prepared to
That's
report to council on December 5th with the information that you've got. And if you get the information sooner, get it to me sooner, and then I'll get it to council earlier for consideration.
Could we do, when you look into that, can you give us both ways? Kind of look at just getting one new truck versus two new trucks?
Yeah, we can do it both ways.
Yeah, just kind of
Well, I
try
don't-
to get down a little
Water
bit.
trade on two.
I don't know that we were looking at getting 2 new trucks. were we?
Right now, we're looking at just at least.
Well, I mean,
well, if you trade in the international, we would have.
Yeah, that's two
Yeah.
trucks. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's not just, kind of
Right,
come
we
back
can
with a
look at
little bit of like a cheap option and a nice option, and then like.
You could always trade international for one truck, but then you still go one short.
Yeah.
Another
there it is,
avenue is
bonus.
Arrow truck sales. They're out of Sharonville also. Yeah, give them a call.
Okay, I'll look and see what.
And I don't know the contact guy, but
Okay.
if not, I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay, that'd be fine.
Kevin, did you look at the state bid website, or?
I haven't yet, but I can.
Yeah, would you begin to look at that, look at the process, and connect with Rick on what you're finding there? See what you can find out about the prices, and if you could kind of work that in and keep him informed, if you guys can communicate
So I
that.
think that's what the police department did with the
Yeah.
cruiser.
Right.
Why the thing was bought from northern Ohio. There's a Ford dealer up there that had the best deals.
Might want to try townships just to see if they have a surplus.
Well, there's the point.
Well, that's something that speaks to something that the chief is working on that Gov Deals. Are we registered with that yet?
Kevin and I are going to get together to decide on the way the customer would pay the village for the item that we advertise.
Gov Deals is another option then, Kevin, for you to look at some options on. So once you and the chief have this finalized the part that you're working on, if you can look at the truck end of things. And what Gov Deals basically is a way that, like that Chevy Corsica that we have out there, we bought that on Gov Deals, and basically different governmental entities put equipment out there that they've declared surplus but yet has some value. They put it out there, and it's just basically on a bid basis. And I think we bought that Corsica from somewhere up in, not quite Columbus, and I think we bought it for $35 or something like that. And Chief and I drove up there and picked it up and drove it back. I forget what the price was. It was really cheap. We put a little bit of money in it and had it running. So that's another option for us to look at is Gov Deals. So.
One other thing. Kevin, can you give us an idea of what Ricky's budget will support for a payment?
I'll tell you right now that starting next month, we'll be able to support $897 a month.
That helps too.
Because that's the Bobcat lease and it's gone.
That's good.
Beyond that, I'd have to look at it
Okay.
and look at the estimates again.
If we go to Avenue 2, I mean, we'll kind of know where the numbers are.
On that Bobcat number, didn't we at one time take that into consideration on another fiscal matter?
We were looking at that in relation to the road project on
Okay.
Church.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Which,
Where we would offset the
Did not have-
$1,200 payment by $800.
Right, okay. All right. So, just to reiterate, make this a priority, be prepared to report to council. As soon as you get your report completed, get it to me, and then I'll get it to council so we can have, everybody can have enough time to review it. All right?
Make some calls in the morning.
Yes, sir.
Things go.
Thank you.
We have just another couple, we already covered the snow removal, so we're not gonna have to go over all that. The holes on Main Street, if you notice, they're still there, and they're got the white lines around them. Well, the state's aware of them. I talked to one of the representatives last week, and he said they're just kind of put that on hold. They're going cold patch eventually, but they don't want to start cutting up that new blacktop because it was just paved last year. If it keeps breaking out bigger and bigger, they're going to have to cut into it. But as it stands now, they have it on, I don't know what their priority list is, but it's on the list to be patched. So, and that's been since last month, I think we talked about. But they went as far as put little white lines around, so you can see them before you hit them.